Right here I've got the Marvel Legends Iron Man Model 20, and this is actually my second ever figure, but I really love everything about it, except for one thing, and that's the paint, or lack of. And since this is an art channel, I'm going to be custom painting it, and you can see there's a lack of gold or metallic sheen on the armour, which makes it look quite plasticky, and I want to make it so that it looks like it's made of metal rather than plastic, kind of like a movie armour. Also want to add some battle damage because I think that could turn out pretty cool. The first ever Marvel Legend I bought was this Elektra, and she is very solid. All I did was add a bit of black wash to really bring out the details in the sculpt. And just as a side note, something I find really cool about these figures is that you can actually use them as reference models for your art. And a great example of this is Alex Ross, who I'm sure everyone knows, but it's just cool to see something that I used to do when I was young. It's done by professional artists. So as you can see, the first step was to run all the parts under some warm water, loosen up the joints, which made it really easy for me to pull everything apart. That's just going to make it super easy for the painting process. I also did a little swatch of the paints I'm going to be using, and I'm just using what I have around. They're just generic metallic acrylic paints, also a bit of gold ink. So just to test out the paints, I'm using the spare hands, or the extra hands that come with the figure, just to see how it turns out, if it's the right metallic red. And here you can see the hand which I've painted compared to the standard hand that you'd get straight out the box. So now I'm going over the rest of the parts. This is one of the forearm pieces, and you can see I'm going in with the first layer of just a bronze kind of metallic paint with a little bit of red mixed in, going in thin layers, painting in one direction, and that just avoids streaks and prevents any brush strokes from being visible. So this is what the first coat looks like once it's done. Arguably one of the most fun parts of the process is adding the weathering, which I'm doing by gently adding silver paint to mostly the edges where I think there would be the most wear and tear. And once the silver's done, I'm going in with the black wash to again accentuate the details in the sculpt and also add a bit of grime to it, make it look really worn. Also a bit of shading just to increase the depth. Now I'm coming in with some gold foil paint for the first layer. Once that's done, I'll come in with the Winsor & Newton gold ink just to brighten up the gold, make it have a bit more of a yellow tint. And you can also see that I'm using sticky tack to cover pieces where I don't want the paint to reach. And it's just a really easy way to mask any areas. The one on the right is exactly what I'm going for. It's got that metallic sheen, and you can see a bit of silver paint, which kind of shows the metal scraping off and the battle damage. And you can see the gold is much shinier rather than just yellow paint. One thing you can do with the black wash is literally just cover the whole thing in it and then use a cloth to kind of scrape it off, and then you'll just have the black wash left in all the gaps. So now I'm just repeating the process for all the other pieces. Doing the chest and hips was definitely the hardest part. You can see I've tried to mask off all the joints with masking tape, but even with the back fins and because of the rotation of the chest, there's bits underneath which are quite hard to paint, so you do have to go over it a few times. And you can see I'm adding a lot of silver paint to the bottom of the feet, because obviously that's where I think the armour would be most worn. And for the helmet, I am going to be leaving the faceplate as is, because I reckon Hasbro did a good enough job with the gold for the helmet. They just kind of forgot to do the rest of the figure. For me, the biggest difference was painting the gold on the legs, and you can just see how much more shiny and realistic it looks compared to what it was before. So once all the pieces were painted and everything had dried, I then went into the garage, sprayed a protective coat over everything to seal the paint.
One eternity later.
Now that we're back, everything's finished, I'm going to put all the pieces together and we'll see how it turned out. So yeah, here's the finished result. Really happy with how it turned out, and obviously this is my first time properly customizing a figure, so I'm sure I've still got a lot to learn, but for a first proper custom, I think I did a pretty good job. Let me know what you guys think. Did I ruin it? But yeah, let me know what else you want to see on this channel. I'm open to ideas. Got a few videos that are coming up, which I hope you guys will enjoy and find useful. So yeah, subscribe to the channel, look out for more, and peace.